Today we are reading chapter 13 of the Gospel of John in our Bible reading challenge for July as a community together. This chapter is the first part of the evening that sets off the betrayal and the arrest of Jesus. For the next morning, he will be led out and ultimately crucified. Now, within the context, Jesus is celebrating the Passover festival with his disciples. This is a crucial feast that was instituted by God. It celebrates the night before the Israelites are delivered from slavery in Egypt. It is a crucial aspect in forming the national identity and probably one of the greatest theological recurring motifs within the Old Testament. And this is significant because Jesus then becomes ultimately the Passover lamb that is symbolically eaten that night. And he institutes the Lord's Supper, which we'll get to in the second part in the next chapter. But Jesus does something rather strange. He stoops down and he washes the feet of his disciples. Now, to do this is a very menial act done only by the lowliest of servants, those who have very few rights. And it's probably a bit embarrassing to his disciples that their Lord, their teacher, their master is doing this. And it does three things for us. It says that he summarizes why he has come to this earth. He was sent to serve and to fulfill the mission of God in a deeply humble way, to become human, though God. Though everything was created through him and for him, he became human. So it's a summary of that profound willingness to come and be the servant of this world. It also ritualistically symbolizes the act that is done at the temple of cleansing and washing away defilement. So Jesus is basically saying, well, I am the one who actually washes away your sin and anything that would hinder you from entering into the presence of God. And thirdly, it's a union, as he says, between him and his disciples. And there's this portion at this chapter where Jesus becomes aware and he says, my hour has now come. Echoing or fulfilling that part in the first few chapters of the Gospel, where at the first sign that he performs at the wedding of Cana, he says to his mother, well, my hour has not come, indicating that it will come. This is the hour that is now coming into fruition, into fulfillment. And as he becomes aware of this, it's actually indicating that this union, this fulfillment of the wedding is starting to be made manifest. And so though Jesus is deeply moved, emotional, it actually is also a poignant moment of hope, of joy, and of glorification, as Jesus goes on to say. And it is very, very moving that then Jesus, knowing who will betray him, and reaches out and he actually washes the feet of Judas, his own betrayer. Knowing that, he still serves Judas. And Judas then goes into the night to do the deed. And Jesus I think, is aware of this. The writer is aware of this because it contrasts the previous chapters where Jesus says, I am the light of the world. And we have to walk in the light and work in the light. The light that overcomes the darkness. And so in this moment, this Passover night, truly there's a deep contrast as to the power of evil that's still at work and manifest, that will be defeated by Jesus. And Jesus says to his disciples, I give you a new commandment. It's new in the sense of it's a new revelation. It's the fulfillment of the Mosaic law. It's of all the things that have been indicating to this moment, Jesus comes and he fulfills it. It's new in that sense. It's a fresh revelation. It's a fresh interpretation and fulfillment. And he says, as I have loved you, so you have to love one another. it just is a profound moment where we get to see and get to grips that this mission of Jesus is ultimately a mission of love. It's his passion for the world. And this deep love he has, he wants to see in the life of his disciples, because that is the moment of union and moment of ultimate fulfillment and the meaning of creation. And contrast it then as the chapter comes to an end, as Jesus then starts talking about what we would then call his discourse, his farewell discourse, saying of what needs to happen. And still shrouded in a measure of mystery, as Peter don't really fully understand it, but will. And I think this is indicative of our own Christian and spiritual journey. So we don't always understand the process, but we can rely on God. We can rely on Jesus to love us. And I think knowing the profound fulfillment of the things that Jesus said and predicted he would fulfill, it gives us a profound insight into the accumulative calling of God on our lives. There's so many things, if we were just perceptive enough to look out for and to see that God has called me in this instance and in that, in various ways during my life. And maybe there's a moment of the climax of that accumulation, knowing that I need to take a step in faith, and through this love that Christ has for me, to respond, to say that I am willing to become one with Jesus. So let me know what you think as you reflect on God's call, calling you by name in this day as you read this chapter.